Hi, my name's Elly Greeny and I'm the Commercial Director at Transition Partners. We're a tech recruitment consultancy with an office in Leeds covering the UK market and an office based in Berlin. I've worked within tech for the past 5 years and find the market fascinating. I'm really passionate about helping women not only get in tech, but really advance their career with an exciting industry that can provide endless opportunities. I love networking and finding out about other people's stories. I decided to set up the Journey of a Woman in Tech to share knowledge, wisdom, and hopefully have a laugh along the way. Feel free to get in touch on LinkedIn to see how you can get involved. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Hello and welcome to the Journey of a Woman in Tech. I'm super excited to be joined by the lovely Christina King today, who is the Chief Commercial Officer at Tribosonics. An award-winning graduate in mechanical engineering, Christina developed the engineering skills in the defence sector, building Challenger 2 main battle tanks. Following 7 years in the industry, she completed an MBA and then springboarded to an international management and ventures consultancy, delivering innovation support to the Carbon Trust Incubator, enabling businesses to exploit low carbon technology and access to venture funding. The role at Sheffield Hallam University involved establishing the 14 million Advanced Wellbeing Research Centre, developing a commercial sport product and breaking a world speed record on Channel 4 with Guy Martin. How cool is that? Since her studies, Christina has a varied and exciting career to date in STEM, and most recently joined Tribosonics in 2019 as Head of Strategic Partnerships to support the business scale-up by developing significant and value-creating commercial partnerships through transformative innovation, and was promoted to the Chief Commercial Officer in September 2020. Here she builds innovation partnerships with large corporates to scale unique sensing technologies and deploying a commercial framework where their value is shared equitably. Wow, that's one hell of an intro there, Christina. What a tongue twister.
It sounds funny coming from somebody else, but yeah,
it's a bit like this is your life, isn't it? Like, yeah. No, do you know what? It's fantastic to have you on the podcast. So thank you so much. Hope I did the intro there justice for you. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. It's been a good morning. It's getting warmed up. So yeah, I'm pleased to be here and have a chat with you.
It certainly is. It's getting a little bit nice, a bit more spring-like, isn't it? I think this week, which is nice. So you're also a TechWomen 100 winner as well, which is so cool.
Yes, that's really good. Amazing last year. What a great opportunity to go for that and then be recognised. I feel like it's my time at the minute. Everything's coming together really nicely.
It certainly is. And to go from head of strategic partnerships to a CCO role so quickly within an established organisation is amazing. So we can't wait to hear all about that and your journey. But let's start then with a brief introduction into your current role and what you're up to at Tribosonics.
So, okay. Well, as you kind of said, we're on an ambitious kind of scale up journey at the minute. The business model changed a couple of years ago. So I suppose I should say a little bit about Tribosonics.
Yeah, defo.
So we're in the business of tribology. So if you don't know what tribology is, it's the study of wear, lubrication and friction. Cool. Things that rub together, basically.
Yeah.
And if you didn't know, 23% of the world's energy is wasted through tribological friction.
Whoa, that's crazy.
It's a huge number.
Oh my God, that's insane. I've actually made it my target for this year as like a personal thing that I want to work on learning more about sustainability in tech. And I'm working with a number of green tech businesses now, which is super cool. Okay. So yeah, I'm keen to hear more.
All right. Okay, then. Well, you should be really interested in what we do then. So we develop sensing technology and measurement technology that can actually measure in industrial systems what that wear is. So we look at temperature, we look at corrosion, we look at lubrication, we look at density. So we can measure lots of different things. And actually some of the things that we measure, nobody else can measure in the world. So we use quite unique technology. Part of our technology suite, we use ultrasonic sensing. So that basically we can put something on a sensor on the outside of a system, like a rotating, quite complex engine system. We can send a wave into that system. It can kind of get encoded with data and it sends the wave back. And we decode that through algorithms. And then we kind of say what the data is, what the customer wants in terms of what the measurement data is. So it's quite exciting. We work in 3 kind of sectors, broadly speaking. Power generation, and that could be anything from renewables through to nuclear. We could work in transport, so rail, aerospace, automotive. We worked in all those sectors, and also manufacturing, which we've, that's obviously a wide kind of remit, but we've got a lot of experience in the polymer world, so plastics and polymers and sustainability, recycling. And really what we're at the right kind of stage at the minute, because it's all about digitization, industry, Internet of Things, and all about kind of learning a little bit more what your systems are doing, and we can help generate some of those new streams of data that are coming out of those kind of industrial systems. So that's the kind of thing that we do. We've changed our business model in the last couple of years, which is, really kind of turn the business around, and that's kind of part of our growth journey, and our investment that we got last September is part of that story as well. And one of the reasons that I came on board, so a new CEO came on board to kind of change the model. What we're trying to do is that when we work with different corporates around the world, and we work with multi-billion-pound companies, and what we want to do is we develop kind of new innovative technology for their application. So we've got the core technology, but we have to do engineering work to make it applicable for their application.
Yeah.
So if we're doing that, then rather than doing a one-off, why don't we kind of do it for all their machines or assets or whatever they're doing, and actually scale our technology through their business? And if we can do that, then we can start generating like a recurring revenue, either through licensing or a servitization model. So I'm really kind of building this sensing as a service business model for the future, which is quite revolutionary. We've seen it in things like Netflix and, Rolls-Royce power by the hour. Yeah. But actually, we've not seen it in our sector. So we're kind of innovating on the tech side and innovating on the commercial side as well. And I'm kind of driving that.
How cool is that? I love it. It's so interesting. So, and your role then, so personally, obviously moving from head of strategic partnerships, you're out and about building networking, to your role as CCO now. Then what's the difference in the positions, and what your responsibilities at Tribosonics now?
I've got more responsibility now. so when I joined, it was me and myself and my team, which was me on my own. I now have a team of 3. So I've got a head of marketing, I've got a new business development manager, and a strategic business executive. We're looking to recruit another business development manager. So so when I started on my own, it was kind of to really look at shaping what the commercial model could be. Put the whole infrastructure in place, look at the CRM system that we need, how we're going to target our customers, so all that sort of work, I had to kind of build and put a framework around that. And then I could start looking at what the strategy was and bringing in the team. So some of it's that, some of it's going onto the board. Obviously, I'm part of the strategic board, so leading the commercial vision for that and really delivering on that side of things. Plus, it's all about, actually doing the business development. So because we're building partnerships, really. It's not one-off kind of projects where we just sell something off the shelf, which we are moving to productize our technology, but that's going to take some time. So we need to build up these partnerships, work in collaboration with these companies to actually take them through the journey through kind of proof of concept, development, and then commercialization. So it's kind of and then all the bit before that, before you even get to the proof of concept, you have to be quite creative. So I run things like ideation days with customers to find out what their challenges are, and then kind of frame that in a place where we can kind of look at the synergies, and then look at what's the next steps in taking that forward. So there's a lot to do.
It sounds like there's a hell of a lot to do, and it sounds like you sort of role where you're like constantly innovating, which is so cool. It's all encompassing, and it's brilliant to be able to have you on the podcast today. Let's dig into the detail then about Christina. Like, it sounds like where you're at now, Tribosonics, awesome, great opportunity moving forward for you. But like, how did you get to where you are today? How did this start? Obviously, your background in STEM. Let's go into the nitty gritty. Tell us all about Christina King and how you got to where you are today.
Okay, well, when I started, like when I was at school, I actually wanted to be a fighter pilot in the RAF. And, you know, and I was quite serious about that. I was in the air
Yeah.
training course, so that's a, you know, a young person's kind of mini RAF. I've got to sergeant. I had an opportunity to go and do a selection process for a scholarship to be a fighter pilot, and I managed to get through the first what do you call it, assessment center. So you have to pass kind of these, you know, skills in terms of your movement skills and stuff like that, and you have to do maths, obviously. So I got through that, and they culled a lot of people, and then I had the medical and I failed.
Oh no.
So I was
Really?
gutted, yeah, and I failed through eyesight. My eyesight, I do wear glasses, but it wasn't that bad then. And plus my size, I was too, they sit you in this contraption, and they said you'd have to sit so far forward in a fighter jet that your legs would come off if you ejected. So that's one of the, which is quite a, you know, gender, it's not very diverse, because obviously the planes were designed for males.
From that accessibility perspective. So you constantly got shut in the door shut on you from day one, really. God, that must be so tough. Like, you hear about like people that have always dreamed of being a pilot, and then they're like colorblind, for example, or something, and that must be just so heartbreaking to get to that stage.
So yeah, I was a bit gutted, and I was a stone underweight of what they wanted you to be. I'm not anymore. I could deal with that issue. That's easy.
Yeah, I don't think many people are.
So that was the end of that. No. And they said, oh well, you can be a navigator, and I was like, I don't really want to be a navigator. So I kind of put that dream aside, and I kind of reassessed my options. What was I good at? You know, maths, and I kind of looked at, I suppose at those days, I looked at maybe a technology role, but I didn't really know what. So engineering came up. And then I was really fortunate, and I don't know how it happened, but I got an opportunity to go on a week's long kind of workshop, I suppose, in my last year of high school at Surrey University. And it was all for women or young girls to get into engineering. So it was a whole week to kind of be exposed to all the different disciplines. And also we had kind of female role models as the project leaders. So I always thought I was going to do electronic engineering, but actually following that, I kind of thought, no, mechanical engineering is where I want to be. I like all that side of things. And that, so I think I was going to probably do engineering anyway, but that just really cemented it. And seeing other kind of women in those roles just really helped. And you thought, oh, actually, it's not such a, and just getting examples. We didn't see many examples when we were young of, you know, engineering is a fantastic career. There's so many opportunities. Out of my course alone, one's an airline pilot, one's a maths teacher, one's a boiler engineer, and one's an MP. So it's kind of a real big springboard into whatever you want to do for the future. So then I took the traditional, I say fairly traditional, I did want to do maths, art and physics, I think, at my A levels, and they were like, no one wants to do those three subjects. So
quite we combination.
So we can't facilitate that. They said, well, can you choose something else? And actually it was a good move. I chose English literature, and that was one of the best moves that I've done, because not many engineers take, you know, written communication type subjects. So I had a bit of an advantage there. So traditional route, then did that, went into mechanical engineering degree, and then kind of did a couple of placements to see the world, really liked manufacturing. And then one of my other friends had done an internship at Vickers Defence Systems with the tanks, and she said, oh, it's really cool, and you know, really kind of, you know, technology rich environment, fantastic kind of product, really complex. You know, get to work with the British Army. And I think, I suppose in the back of my mind, I did have that forces thing where I thought, oh, that would be really interesting. So got into a graduate scheme, which is the best thing ever, because you get to swap into different disciplines, you know, from marketing through to obviously shop floor, everything. If I could have stayed doing that for the rest of my career, actually what I really wanted to do is be a trials engineer, because that was the best placement ever, because you go down to Dorset and you just kind of, you live off site for like months, you know, about a month and a half, and you test all the tanks. And
that does sound like a fun job.
Everybody wanted that job because it was a lot of fun. So that's kind of how I got into it, really. I didn't have a grand plan. I didn't know, you know, now I see young people and they seem to be really kind of focused, and they know where they want to be, and there's a lot more stuff on the internet. You know, in my day there wasn't all that information, rich information. Sometimes there's too much information now, but we didn't have many role models to look at. So you're kind of just finding your way a little bit. I didn't have a grand plan of what I wanted to do. So that's kind of how it started.
And then it progressed from that, from working on the tanks. Then what was next? Because obviously then you must have transferred them skills more into the more sort of like strategic partnerships. How did that kind of progress?
Well, there's a big jumps from there. So from Vickers, I kind of, when I kind of realized I didn't want to stay in a formal engineering role. I could see what my path was, and I just thought, I don't know, I just felt like there was more to it. There was nothing wrong with that career path, but I just wanted to experience something different. So I started looking around for other opportunities, and one that came up was a kind of technology innovation role. So they wanted someone with a technical background to come in and look at it was like technology transfer and run kind of projects. Interestingly, a women entrepreneurs, women in management and women in leadership project, which was completely out of my comfort zone, but actually I had the project management skills to take that on. So I went to work for a management consultancy that still had engineering and tech at the heart and innovation at the heart of it. And that kind of just gave me a lot more exposure of what's out there, because I was working with a lot more SMEs, a lot more new technology, helping people get grants and really scale their technology. So I got really interested in that, and running this kind of female entrepreneurship and leadership project as well. And I think from there, I kind of always had in my back of my head that I would go and do an MBA at some point to complement my engineering degree. I always wanted to do it part-time, like you do with work, and work sponsors it. But I worked for an SME and they couldn't do it. They said, we can facilitate you having the time to do it, but we can't pay for it. And I thought, nowadays it doesn't seem a lot of money, but then it was like 15 grand for a year. And I thought, oh, well, if I'm going to spend that much, actually I started to consider doing it full time. And it was the best thing they could have said to me, because it was one of the best experiences to kind of give up my job for a year.
So you did, so you just parked work. Good for you. So this
was
before
I was really worried about.
Was that before you started your
just
family?
Before. And it's funny that you say that, because I did speak to a recruiter before I made the jump, and I said, am I going to be in a really bad position when I finish? I'm going to be kind of late. I think I was late 20s. Late 20s. Am I going to be at a job? You worry about all these things. Are they going to think I'm going to want kids? Is it, I was really worried about being perceived like that. Isn't it bad that you have to think like that? But I did. But they were like, no, don't worry about that, do it. And I had some support, and I got some sponsorship as well. The university gave me a part scholarship, and also I had just got married, so my husband, brilliant for him, he said, look, we could afford the mortgage, I can support you for a year. I couldn't have done it without him. It would have been really difficult. So he's a big supporter of women in tech, so he's probably my biggest supporter.
Oh, so lovely, isn't it? Isn't that what husbands should be, though? And partners, that's what you need, isn't it? Someone's going to be your biggest fan. Awesome. So you finished your MBA then. What was next for you?
So I had to, because when you do a full-time MBA, you start you have a lot of help with your career of, where you want to go, and a lot of time to focus on that. So you start really looking in March, even though you don't finish till September. So building up your LinkedIn profile, all those sort of things. So I had 2 job offers within a week of finishing. And one was with another management consultancy and ventures business, a lot kind of at a higher level than my last role. So they invested in businesses, they put management teams in, they built and run innovation centres for small businesses, and they also run innovation programs with grants across London and in Lincolnshire, as it was, and the Middle East. So it was kind of the right step for me, just after an MBA, like an apprenticeship, if you like, to put all those skills that I'd got into kind of making business cases, how you scale in your technology, what markets you can go in, and kind of helping businesses get kind of grants to scale, to really kind of scale their technology. So it was a fantastic opportunity for me after my MBA to do that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And then that's when I had my first, so I did have my first child after I'd kind of joined that business, but I was there a couple of years before that happened. And actually I only had 6 months off.
Did you?
Yeah, so I was straight back into it.
It's tough, isn't it? 6 months. Do you think that's long enough? 6 months? What do you, in your opinion?
It's a funny question, because I found it really hard the first time. I've got two.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the first baby I found really hard. It's a skill I didn't have. I wasn't a baby person. I didn't have any family, or none of my friends had had babies. So we were kind of the first, and it was a big shock. And suddenly you don't know what you're doing. You're not experienced with this job.
And I can imagine for someone who works, like, obviously, clearly the experience that you've gained, very process driven. You throw a baby in it, you can't control that.
No. So I was actually pleased to go back to work. I know that sounds bad, but my mum came and lived with us.
Yeah, that's great.
Bless her, for a year. So she wasn't going into nursery. So, and I used to have every other Friday off, and so I managed it, and it was fine. And I really enjoyed going back to work. The second time I was a lot later on, sort of 3 or 4 years later, I was a lot more relaxed because I had my experience. I had a bit longer off. So yeah, 6 months wasn't long enough, but for me it was fine, and I needed to get back to work.
That's it, isn't it? Everyone's different, and you've got to approach it. So I'd be interested then, the challenges that you feel you've kind of faced as a woman in STEM.
Yeah, there's a few, but nothing. But I assume a lot of women face these challenges in whatever kind of industry they're going in. I mean, for me, I do remember I was obviously quite young when I did my second placement at university in the 90s, sort of going into a manufacturing environment. There's not many women there. You get stared at when you go through the shop floor. And it is a bit, I'm quite a confident person. I had friends that were with me doing their placements as well. So there was a group of us. It wasn't like I was on my own, thank goodness. I think it would have been worse if I was. So you kind of, in a way, because now I dress quite feminine, but then I would make sure I was a bit more, wearing trousers a lot more, and it's just not nice to be in that kind of
uncomfortable.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't think it's like that now. And then I think the other thing as well, which you notice, because there wasn't many women, interestingly, in that role, there was really older women that had come from kind of when just post-war days, there were like grandmas working on the shop floor, that kind of age for retirement, that was quite unusual for me. So there were women there, but not a lot, obviously.
Well, someone told me something interesting the other day. They were like, how there used to be a lot more women in tech years and years ago compared to now. And I was like, really? I didn't know that. And they were like, it used to be a lot more diverse, but then
it's funny because when the war happened, obviously a lot of women went into technical roles.
They had to.
Up north, where in Leeds with Vickers Defence, it was a munitions factory, and a lot of women worked there at the time. And then when obviously everyone came back, a lot of women went back but a lot of women were like, well, actually, I quite like this. I want to stay doing this. So I think what I found, you've got people who, because they wasn't used to it, the people treat you a bit differently. Some people are very welcoming, and it was fine. Others, a bit less so, just didn't really know how to act. Do I do banter? Do I not? So there could be situations like that. But what I did,
I just felt a little bit more uncomfortable than it should do.
The biggest thing, but I think this has served me well, is that you've got to work a lot harder to be seen at the same level as your colleague, your cohort. But in the end, that's done me well, because I'll always try and achieve the best I can be, and make sure I'm achieving at that level. So
that's giving you the drive then.
So it's there. You can, as long as you can switch it into positive, I think it's okay. It's not great. I think things are changing. There's a lot more women now coming out in industry, and it's a lot more visible.
Well, my next question actually is about like the challenges faced by the next generation. I mean, you're a mother, your children, what challenges do you think we can expect for the future generation in tech, and what can we do as women in STEM to help overcome these?
I wasn't sure about this, so I did a little bit of Googling just to see, what is perceived as and some research was done, and a lot of it was around, being taken seriously, the gender pay gap, the glass ceiling, it's those kind of things. I mean, for me, I know I drum it into my kids and they don't get it, but education, just get educated. It's, you know, you've got so many doors open to you if you can get your education and really just suck in all that information. But they're not at that point. They need to find their passion, and once you find your passion, then whatever it may be, then, you know, really kind of go into it, find out all that you can to kind of do it. But I think for me, it's education, it's opportunity to be able to kind of try some of these things, go out and meet some people, opportunities to get on programs or internships and things like that is really important. And role models and champions.
The biggest thing, role models like yourself, women at sea level, is just so important, isn't it? Getting women on the board and getting that like working on that diversity level, so it's visible that is achievable, and that's going to help with diversity and inclusion long term. So, and I'm
proud to say that Tribosonics is a 50% board, women and men, which in a tech engineering
I can imagine it is. That's superb to hear, and hopefully that then feeds. Do you see that in the business that feeds down, that your sort of diversity levels are a bit more equal than most businesses because of that? Because quite often, I mean, we're a female founded business. There's 3 female directors now, and that's quite unusual in tech recruitment actually. And it definitely shows in our team. We're 90% women.
Really?
So, I think just because we're like strong female leaders, it then helps inspire and naturally attracts that. But I don't know, do you find that at Tribosonics?
Well, when I joined, I was the only woman. I was at the time to join the business. So I suppose if you look at it now, then we've got obviously a head of marketing, female. We've got a chairperson on our board who's a female engineer from Rolls-Royce.
Oh wow, okay.
So we're, you know, I think we are showing a bit more. I think it does help. It will start. It will filter out. We've been recruiting for technical roles, and we are seeing female technical engineers as well, which is great to see. Not a lot, really, but they are there.
Yeah, exactly. That's really good. And I'm sure, like you say, if it's still fairly early days at Tribosonics, that split will certainly help for the future. What's been it's such a varied and interesting career that you've had. What's the greatest achievement for you?
I don't know. I found that it's quite a tough one, that. Well, I suppose I should always say my 2 kids, that you know it has to be that it's the most, because it is actually the most challenging thing you can do. They will push you to your limit, and it will be the hardest thing that you can ever do. So I am proud of that. It's still a work in progress.
And how old are your kids now? You got 1 10-year-old?
Yes, a boy 10 and a girl 13.
Lovely. Yeah, I can imagine testing your limits, but your proudest achievement as well. So that's lovely. Good stuff.
That's the personal side, but on the work side, I've got to say, like the Guinness World Records, the Guy Martin thing was amazing, and to do it with 2 of my friends was just, it was such an amazing experience. We managed to do it.
What was the speed?
I think it was 84. I should have double checked. It's been a while. 84 miles an hour we had to get to.
Wow.
We did that on run number 12, and then run number 13, which was the last run, and we chucked everything at it to kind of get to see how far we could push it. But we only had 1 run left because it was the end of the day, and that's when he had his crash.
Oh God.
But he survived. It's fine. Yeah, but a lot of people are more impressed that I got on Gogglebox than I was actually on.
Oh really? You're on Gogglebox?
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. I bet the kids like that one.
Yeah.
Who's been your greatest role model?
This was another tough kind of one that I had to think about. So I actually thought, who was my role model when I was younger? And actually it was Madonna.
Yes.
And I think, why was it her? And I think, now I can look back and think, obviously I liked her music, but it was about female empowerment. She's a confident woman. She was very different, very creative, and she was doing it herself. And I think, I've been very kind of, and I don't know whether that's from my mum or my dad or what, but that was from a very kind of young age. So I think she was, my role model really. And I'm always drawn to programs that have got, women in, either women pilots or women in sport that have kind of had to overcome like real challenges to get, good into their sport or whatever it is. Like all things like that. I'm really fascinated by that, and I really kind of support and celebrate that. I think it's great.
That's so fantastic. Yeah, 100% agree with that. And she's so influential. I think that's a good role model. I like that one. What about managing the stress of it all, and how do you look after your well-being? Clearly, it's a high-pressured environment. You've got a big role, lots of responsibility, speaking to people all over. I'm assuming it's global clients that you've got, global partnerships, the time zones, etc., which can be challenging. How do you manage the stress of it all and look after yourself properly?
So when I worked in Sheffield Hallam University, I worked with some of the wellbeing teams. So and usually what you find in those teams, it's all kind of the ex-athletes, really kind of fit people, really who prioritize like their well-being and exercise, physical activity, and mental well-being, and that really instilled in me a good kind of methodology, if you like, and I don't always stick to it, but it did get me running, because I was never a runner. I was good at sport, but not long distance, and I hated like 5k runs and things like that. But I found it was a really good exercise to do quickly. You can just, like, even with the kids, I can just go out 20 minutes, half an hour, I'm done. I've done my exercise, I feel good. So I've kind of kept that up at the minute. I try and run when it was the summer, I was running every work day in the morning when it was light.
Yeah, it's tougher, isn't it? In the winter, it's harder.
I say run. I was jogging, walking, just...
20 minutes is good going if you're doing 5k now.
No, I don't. I do it. It's about 35, 40 minutes.
Just live for the podcast.
Yeah. No, I just meant it was less than 5k. Even if I just put out a run, it was good. So I like doing that. I kind of eat, however busy I am, I need to get out. I'm going to run today at lunchtime because I just need to kind of get out and get some fresh air. So there's that. I actually bought someone at work, Dan Richardson, shout out to Dan. He was learning to play keyboard with an app, and he told me the keyboard that he was using. So I thought, that's a good idea. So I found it on like Facebook, secondhand one. So I bought one. I thought, this will be really great for the kids. No one was interested. So I thought, right, I'm going to try it. So I tried this app, and actually I really got into it. So I don't practice a lot, maybe 3 or 4 times a week, 10 minutes. It's really good.
So it just takes you away from your desk and doing something a bit creative, I guess. That's good fun.
Yeah. So I do that. So that's quite cool.
Good for you. It's tough, isn't it? I think managing it all, and like you say, the workload, and it's important to be able to take that time for yourself. So good for you. And also as well, I guess from an energy perspective, you're like clearly super energetic. So I think it's really interesting. I think what you mentioned earlier, that you've always had to work, you feel like you've always pushed yourself to work harder and be the best, bit of kind of like that underdog attitude, isn't it? So it's important that you're able to reflect that and keep those energy levels up, which is incredible. I love to end the podcast then with like words of wisdom. Like, what would you have told younger Christina back when she was 18 years old, or what would you tell your daughter in the future? And let's finish the episode with that.
Okay, well, I think the first thing, the biggest thing I found is just having a champion in work and in life that can help you when like times are tough, and really support you and believes in you. Having someone who believes in you is like the biggest thing that kind of gives you the confidence and really helps you celebrate when you kind of win things. So to kind of put that in a summary is just be confident. It really is a superpower. If you can do that, it's awesome.
Covers a multitude of sins as well, doesn't it? Confidence.
Yeah, but I think you just approach things really differently, and no challenge is too much. And when I feel it sometimes when I'm on with customers or when I'm in a internal work meeting, when I'm on fire, as I call it. You just you throw ideas in, you're confident enough to kind of, you don't stop yourself from saying ideas, you just kind of throw it all out there because you think, I've got this. And that's the best place to be. And wouldn't it be lovely if we could all be there a lot of the time? We're not, we all kind of suffer from doubts and things like that. But that's where
I love that, because particularly in your role, when you're working in such like innovative environments, it sounds like you're constantly being like challenged by different scenarios and different challenges and pain points for clients. So being able to have the confidence to come out with ideas, which is often like even in just like, I guess, engineering roles and developing positions, when you're stood up in your daily stand-up, being able to come out and propose things and comment on things, it takes a lot of confidence, and it's obviously different levels, but the fact that you're able to do that in the environments you're working in is probably key to the success that you're having and that you've got within the business. So that's incredible, and appreciate those words of advice. Do you know what? It's been fantastic having you on. It's been great hearing your story. Can't wait to keep an eye on the business. I'm certainly intrigued to find out more about you guys. If anyone does want to get in touch, Christina, what's the best form of contact? Is it Twitter or LinkedIn?
Yeah, both. I've got a Twitter account,
Yeah.
Christina E. King. You know, come and say hi. And also, yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome.
It's been great.
Fantastic.
Great talking to you. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's been lovely having you on the podcast. Thank you so much, Christina. See you later.
See you. Bye.